7:30, and it is November 20th. And this is our Friday morning COVID update meeting. I'll start by reading our vision statement. The Ashland Public Schools cultivates the academic and social emotional growth of each student through a supportive, collaborative, innovative, and challenging environment. Students will develop into self-motivated, resilient, lifelong learners who embrace their role as responsible contributors to a global community. This meeting is not being recorded by WACA Cable TV, but Mr. Adams is recording it and will make it available later. The open session call to order is first, opening procedures, agenda review and adoption. Time for public comment. Administrative items, as always on Fridays, include the COVID-19 update, phases, models of learning, status of athletics, and then we will adjourn. So I will take a roll call and ask everybody to just confirm that you're okay with the order of business this Friday morning. Mark Terry.
Here and yes.
Kathy Bates.
Here and yes.
Paul Kendall.
Here and yes.
Aaron Williams.
Here and yes.
Excellent. Okay, I will then see if there's anybody here from the public that would like to offer some comment this morning before we get started. And if you would like to say something, just unmute yourself or raise your hand. And seeing none, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Adams, for the COVID-19 update.
Great, thank you. I don't anticipate this being one of our longer meetings. There are no policies. I'll start off by saying athletics, they're done for the fall season right now. So the MIAA is actually making recommendations and voting today. So next Friday, we'll have an update with regard to athletics. I know Mr. Marks is meeting, Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, next Monday with the Tri-Valley League ADs.
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll have updates for athletics next week. So there's nothing on there.
Can I just real quick, does that mean we're meeting next week, folks?
I had planned on it because we had talked about because we're not extending the break, that we wanted to make sure the data was reviewed next week, if that's okay.
I hadn't thought about it.
Yep, no, I apologize.
Any problem having a quorum for that? Is everybody, at least 3 of us available? Yes for me?
I'm available,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll before I get into the data this week, I'll just fill you in on really a couple things that are occurring. One, in meeting with the commissioner yesterday, he was pretty clear with the guidance coming from the state that Thanksgiving, people still talked about Thanksgiving the week after, and he said they're most concerned actually with 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, not the week of Thanksgiving. And that's sort of our line of thinking too, right? Not shutting it down immediately because we don't know what the data is going to show. But if it's a trend with any of the holidays or the long weekends we've had, it's really 2 to 3 weeks out that we see some of the spikes. So they're aware of it at the state level, and clearly, the rate still at the state is going higher, but we're planted still into the yellow based on the metrics. But again, I think the way we approach it and deal with it daily and locally is the right approach. And secondly, last week, Chris Matthew sat in on it was actually last Friday, I think, a webinar on air purifier systems. So we are in the process of purchasing, because the winter months, we can't have that same ventilation by opening windows fully like we are now. So the recommendation coming out of the Harvard School of Public Health and Dr. Allen, I believe, Chris, is that correct? Is recommending that districts provide air purifiers, which help with the air exchange, which is really the important piece of reducing any airborne transmission of any virus. So we're procuring purifiers for every classroom, and which will help in the winter months when we can, just crack the window a little bit. So I know also the commissioner mentioned yesterday we will have another webinar with Dr. Allen in the coming weeks. So I think in the first week of December, I think is his target. So that's a really positive step, I think, for health and safety of our employees and staff, is that every room right now we have some really commercial grade in Audrey's room, for instance, in the nursing areas. And but these are designed for smaller classrooms and for classrooms themselves to help with the airflow. They have the HEPA 13. They're really high quality filtration systems. So it's exciting. And so let me share where we are this week. So as you can see, can everyone see the dashboard okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Sorry. I'm going to slide up a little bit. It may look kind of crazy for a second here. Okay, so it should have balanced. I have it blown up a little bit. So this week we have 14 cases, down from 16 last week. Remember, the 14-day case period was at 52 last week. It's down to 30. We knew we're having some of those areas that were coming off from our books, as Ed we like to say. The quarantine open case, or the quarantine cases. We have a total of 55. Last week it was 71. And so those are positive steps. Our cases per 100,000 went down from 19 to 11. And again, our data, I want to be clear, the state data shows it going up, but the state data lags behind our actual our data in town. That we are updating this. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. Kind of squiggly up top. Our data is accurate. Their data lags behind. We'll leave it that way. You'll notice that we have 27 students in quarantine. That's down. I don't have it in front of me. I think that was. Remember what that was last week, Audrey? Was that 50?
Did I think it was 70? 71 maybe?
Oh, yes. Okay.
71.
71. So as you can see, our students are filtering back into the schools. They've been taken out of quarantine. And what I want to say is, Audrey, I've had her dig into the data a little more as we talk about close contacts, especially of students. And if a student is deemed a close contact, and that we then are required to quarantine them, what the percentage of students who are testing positive from those close contacts. And Audrey, yesterday's data showed, I think, none from students. But we do have data that suggests that if an adult, a parent, is the person with the positive, that is transferring to a close contact potentially in the household. Even though the kids have been quarantined and not in school, they may become positive, but it's not because of other students, it's because of unable to isolate in their own homes. So we'll dig more deeply into that and be able to provide some of that data, because I think it's interesting to look at to see where transmission is occurring. And what we do know from what we're seeing is that it's transmitting from adult to kid, not kid to adult. So again, no athletics this week. So we're not worried about any of what's going on in the Tri-Valley League. And I believe that is it for the data this week. Ed, Audrey, anything you want to explain further on anything that you've seen from the ground?
Yeah, just one thing. You'll notice there's that 14-day school age, that high school level. Just an FYI, just full disclosure, one more came in that 14 to 18 last night. But I will tell you, the three of them, we actually traced it back. The three of them work very close to one another in the same establishment. But they've been out. We've had them out of the buildings for for almost over a week now.
So okay, that's a new one to me. So see, you get hot off the press information
Hot off the press.
on a morning. So obviously an email will go out today, like I always do, just saying that there's someone within our community and that tested positive. They haven't been in school. So
Can I ask one question about the data, or maybe suggest
Yep.
something to think about as you all look at it more closely? One of the things that strikes me is that the protocols are becoming clearer that if you test too soon, you're not as likely to get an accurate result. And
Yep.
I think just as we've talked about these close contacts, a lot of the times what's going on is, we learn about something on a Monday, we identify the close contacts, they're getting tested on Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. And I'm just
well,
quoting it.
we've changed that, Mark.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've told them to push it out. To
Okay,
at least
perfect.
5 days, right?
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I'd written a little note down here to mention that the DPH actually changed their, Audrey's shaking her head, changed their guidelines with regard to quarantining, that no longer do we have to wait the 14 days, that if someone's quarantined, they can test after 8 days, and if they're negative, they can be released from quarantine at 10. We're still struggling with that internally, and Ed and Audrey, and we'll have further discussion on, do we follow that guideline or do we stay true to what we're doing, which is the 14-day. We have seen cases that happen beyond 8 days, 10 days. So we've just got to be thoughtful of how we approach it. So, and as always, we can be a little more stringent than DPH or guidelines. DPH and CDC are not aligned. We'll leave it at that. That's the struggle we're having at the state, from a superintendent's level, is we're not getting consistent information from the federal standpoint and the state standpoint.
So Jim, on the cases where where you've seen someone test positive or get symptomatic
Yep.
beyond the 8 or 10 day mark, is that somewhere where they were quarantining because they are close contact, because it's somebody that is in their household, or because I'm wondering, because that's a tough one to really isolate, right? Because it's like, okay, so I've been quarantining for 5 days, but on day 4, I picked it up from my parent who isn't isolating as well as they should.
Yep.
And therefore it looks like I'm getting symptoms after the 10th or 12th day, but it's really, I picked it up on day 6 or something like that, right?
So I would say, Audrey, we had a case this week, correct? Similar to what Paul's explaining, where someone was quarantined for quite some time, was negative initially and then became positive. Is that?
It does happen. I think once you're symptomatic, it takes a while for the, what's the word? The incubation period. It takes a while to be symptomatic and then test positive. I mean, you could be exposed from day 1 to that, and it could take up to 14 days to actually test positive. I don't know if that makes sense, but
And that's why and that's why we're hesitant to change our process and to keep it at the 14 days. But
Yeah, and I guess there's also the complication that just because you're symptomatic or whatever, there is a quiescent period where you're not contagious, even if you test positive, and it's been long enough.
yeah, the viral load of being able to, transmit it. So, but that's really the report for the week. I mean, we have 2 more days left before we're on. We have Wednesday as a remote day anyway, but we have next Monday and Tuesday. We'll see. Ed just gave me the bad news. It's my first letter of the week I've had to send out, where last week it felt like every day. So, but at least again, our protocols are working when we identify and keep people out, and they haven't been in school for a week plus. There's zero risk of transmission that way. So that's all I have. Any questions for myself, Ed, or Audrey?
I have a question.
Hey, Kath.
Just back to the purifiers you were
Yeah,
talking about for the classrooms.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of purifiers that you have to procure.
Yep.
But there's enough of them? Or
So-
is it like the laptops and?
So the state is assisting in this, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's, I think they said yesterday, Chris, a 4 to 6 week lag in terms of ordering and procuring. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I requested them to be on site by, I think it was 12/28 is our objective.
So when folks come back in the winter months,
Yeah.
they're ready to go.
Great, thanks.
And that, again, that's one of the major recommendations is there's the consistent airflow.
Any other questions for Jim about that?
Okay. Well, thank you again, Audrey and Ed, for all the work they're doing, and the nursing staff across the district, and Amy Childs, and you know, we're not able to stay open unless they are as tired as they are. You know, the constant communication and work that they're putting in, and I appreciate that. So, and we'll see everyone next Friday. Happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully it's a restful time for everybody.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So, second.
All in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Aaron? Paul?
All right.
Have a great day, everybody. Have a great
Great. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks. Happy
Good
Thanksgiving.
later.
Thanksgiving.
Well.